Welcome back to Spill the Beans podcast. I am so excited to have you here. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, Beans, and this is my podcast, Spill the Beans. I hope everyone is doing beautiful and amazing. Today I am filming this on a Friday the 13th. And we love a good Friday the 13th. It's not really a holiday or anything, but typically witches, people who are a little bit spiritual, tend to celebrate it like it is, right? And sometimes people are like, why? What's the significance? Like, what's the meaning? What's going on here? And there are two main reasons why people celebrate Friday the 13th. One is because they love the spooky vibes. They love the scariness of it all. And they just dive into that and they're like, let my spookiness show, right? Because there are not a whole bunch of days where you can be super spooky and it can be acceptable. Now, most people don't care. They're going to be spooky whenever. They're going to be like, this is my vibe. This is my thing. I don't really care. But it's one of those days where it's like, it's a spooky vibe. No one's really going to question it if you do something a little bit on the witchier side. And the second reason is to reclaim it as a day of luck, right? It's been denoted as a day where bad things happen. It's very unlucky. Dangerous things happen. So it's one of those things where it's like, caution, be aware. And so some people have decided to reclaim it as like, no, this is my lucky day. This is a day where only good things happen to me. So sometimes people would do good luck charms, good luck spells, just to reclaim this day. And one of the reasons why it's denoted as a day of bad luck is number one, in Christianity, the Last Supper had 13 guests, right, including Judas, who stabbed Jesus in the back, right? And then Jesus was crucified on a Friday. So both of those two together, they're like wrong, incorrect. This is not a good day. And then also in Norse mythology, Loki, who is the 13th god, is also the god of chaos and death. So some people correlate 13 as an unlucky number, as a very unknown number where bad things happen. But I know several people who 13 is their lucky number. That's their jam. Only good things happen to them. They've had some of their best days on a 13th day, So some of the ways that some people celebrate this is number one, having a scary movie marathon. Just be like, I'm watching Friday the 13th. I'm doing all of the spooky things, movie marathon times. Some people like to research some of the meanings behind Friday the 13th, what it is, what it's about, which is always nice. It's always good. Some people do things that are traditionally unlucky, like walking under a ladder, getting a black cat. And if you're a witch, you're not scared of black cats. You're like, black cats? Those are my favorite type of cats. And I love that, honestly. We have stepping on cracks, doing things that just normal people might think are a little bit unlucky. Or you could just dive into the superstitions of it all and be like, I'm doing all of my superstitions to make this a good day. Either or. If you wanted to pounce on the spooky vibes of it all, you could do hexes or curses or jinx and just use that energy to fuel those things. So that's all I have about it Friday the 13th. And I don't think another Friday the 13th is going to happen until December. Yeah, until somewhere in December. So I think we're a little bit ways away until we hit another one of these. Just putting it out there. But the main reason for me to make this podcast episode was because we are about to have a full moon. We love a good full moon, right? This full moon is in Pisces. It's a super moon. Fun fact, moons have different names, right? And depending on where you are, what your culture is, you might call the full moon by a different name. So I'm just going to list really quick some of the different names that you might hear this full moon as. Number one, harvest moon, corn moon, wine moon, barley moon, leaves falling moon, and child moon, right? So those are just some of the common names that you might hear this full moon go by. And one of the qualities of this moon is it tends to be a orange reddish color, and oftentimes it provided a little bit extra light for farmers, for them to harvest, for them to tend to their crops. So that is what it is typically known for. This full moon is also 4 days before the autumn equinox. And I will get more into that in a little bit, but I am super excited for this autumn equinox that is among us. This full moon is really great for bringing in abundance. So if you want to do any abundance spells, any abundance workings, to just take note of all of the abundance that you have, it is going to be a great time to do that. It's also a really good time to just appreciate everything you have, be grateful, and just really be like, wow, look how far I've come, look how far I've made it. Just really celebrate yourself. Focus on everything you've been completing. Be like, okay, what's finished? What's done? What has come to an end? It's also a really good time to rest, rejuvenate, strengthen your mental, your emotional, and your faith. It's a really great time to just let me strengthen myself. You also might feel a pull towards creativity and scrapbooking, just really diving into the things that you're a little bit more passionate about. So feel free to do that. I have already started with the creativity. I'm making some things. I have a couple of different projects in the works, but one of them I'm going to show you right now. And I have made this, right, with some twine and some other stuff. And I think it looks cute. It's not done, right? It still needs a couple of more things added to it, but this is what I've started on, you know? So I'm doing a couple of different projects, so I'm already feeling this energy. It's also, the full moon is also a great time to journal, dream journal, focus on acts of service. You know, if you feel called to just help people, it's a really good time for community. And I think we're about to enter a season of community. The autumn equinox is just full of helping people out, getting with community, appreciating one another, and just being grateful for one another. So that's the season that we're about to enter anyways. It's also really good to bridge the gap between the emotions and thoughts. Sometimes the way we feel and what we're thinking are two very different things. So working on those to like align them just a little bit more, this is going to be a great time to do that. It's going to be a great time to have a deeper understanding of yourself and just do a lot of introspection and reflection. And really, it's going to be a great time to meditate. Honestly, journal on this full moon. I think it would be really helpful if you just sat down and like, let me journal, let me focus on what's going on within me, what I want to bring in, what has already been completed. I think it would be very helpful instead of doing spells. You could also do spells, but I think meditation and journaling would be some of the best things to do on this full moon. We also can tap into our higher self, you know, connect with their spirit guides. It's a great time to break any addictions, break any destructive behavior patterns that we've been dealing with. And this is really a transition time. Let's move out from the outer world to the inner world, just to set up a space for new beginnings. So that's the plan. What we're doing here, it's to set up a space for new beginnings, for new cycles. So we're entering this period where we are trying to release anything that is no longer serving us. And some things to think about for this full moon are, what have you been nurturing? What have you been working on? What have you been allowing to grow? And also, how can you maximize your abundance, right? How can you maximize your rewards, your success? And those things are really going to help you when this full moon comes. And some of the things that I'm going to do, me personally, on this full moon is I'm planning on meditating, right? I'm planning on doing a little bit of journaling, writing down some things that I'm grateful for, some things that I'm appreciative of, and writing down some things that I want to let go. And those are the big things that I'm going to try and be focusing on this full moon in Pisces. I'm not a fan of Pisces because Pisces tend to be a little bit emotional. So I don't plan on doing anything super major spell work wise. I might light a candle to help let things go, but other than that, I'm not doing too much of anything for this full moon in Pisces, honestly. Anyways, you might have heard me talk a little bit about the autumn equinox, right? So I'm going to speak a little bit about that. And the autumn equinox is also known as Mabun, and it's also known as the witch's Thanksgiving, right? It's a time to be thankful. It's a time to be grateful. And it really just introduces the season of, okay, it's starting to get darker outside. It's starting to get colder outside. It marks the end of summer. And this year it happens on September 22nd. And it's when the sun and the moon are equal. It's when day and night are equal. So there's a lot of balance vibes that happens around here. Like everything's equal, everything's balanced. So this is a great time to try and bring in any balance. And it may even call for you to reevaluate what brings you balance, right? Because the things that bring you balance in the winter months may not be the same things that bring you balance in the summer months. So don't be afraid to be like, okay, let me have a shift of the balance. Let me have a shift of what brings me peace and stability. And this autumn equinox also incorporates a lot of the vibes from the full moon, right? So a lot of those things that you would do for the full moon, you would also do for the autumn equinox, including letting go. Letting go of anything that's holding you back, of anything that's keeping you stagnant, any thoughts, any beliefs that are just getting in the way of who you want to be and what you want to do. So there's a lot of letting go there. There's a lot of being grateful, appreciative, celebrating yourself, acknowledging your accomplishments, and just allowing yourself to be like, yes, I did this. I'm proud of me. It's also really good to connect with nature. You'll see a lot of people, they'll just really get into the nature aspect of it all. They're really commune with nature. And in the artsy crafts of it all, you'll see people start to use more of nature in their arts and crafts and just thank nature for everything that they've done for them. You know, using the leaves, the branches, just it becomes an artsy and craftsy time. And a lot of times people like to appreciate nature is by making arts and crafts from nature. So if you get the feeling to make arts and crafts, but you also want to appreciate nature, think of incorporating that. And the autumn equinox is also, it's the second festival in the wheel of the year. And the wheel of the year is just the modernized version of some of the ancient festivals that used to happen. So this is going to be my very first autumn equinox that I celebrate. It's not going to be my Thanksgiving, but I am celebrating. I am going to be giving thanks. I am going to be appreciative, and I'm going to do this by making a list of things that I'm grateful for, being artsy and craftsy, which I've already started, as you can see, and just doing my best to let go of anything that I no longer need, right? So I'm going to probably do a small working to let things go. I also have a winter solstice rebirth oil that is great to bring in these types of vibes that the autumn equinox brings in. So number one, that's going to go up on my Etsy very soon. But number two, I am going to be making a lot more use of that. And the reason this is a little small spiel about my winter solstice rebirth oil, the reason why I have one is because it was on accident. It was supposed to be a motivation oil, but when I made it, it smelled so much like Christmas, like the Christmassy vibes. I was like, this can't be a motivation oil. This gives me too much Christmassy vibes. So I reworked it, did a little bit of intentioning, and was like, we're renaming it. It's now my winter solstice rebirth oil. I've used it for a couple of years now, and it's been working great for me. It's been working great to help me bring in what I want to bring in for the new years, to allow me to let go, to allow me to reflect, do some introspection, which is really what this autumn equinox is all about anyways. And the main reason why I say this autumn equinox is about community is because back in the day, before we have all of these cool gadgets that we have and we had more security, this autumn equinox was a time to bring in your harvest, right? It was a time to be like, okay, let me make sure that I set myself up for the winter months so that way I can survive, so that way I can live. Because not everyone survived through the winter months because it was cold, it was harsh. So they would do a small celebration to celebrate the abundance that they brought in, to celebrate being able to make it through the winter. And a lot of that was done with community. And in these winter months, they would also band together. They would be like, okay, let's try and help one another. Let's try and make sure we all make it through. Let's try and make sure we all survive. So there is a sense of community in this time to really help each other get through these hardships and hard times. But that is all I really have on what is going on. You know, all of these really cool astrological dates that are happening. And I know this is a very small episode today, and that's okay because the next episode that I do will be a little bit longer. And I just want to end this episode on a note of gratitude. I just want to let you guys know what I'm grateful for. And number one, I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for all of the support, the love that you guys give me. I'm appreciative that you guys watch my podcast, that you guys are here. And I'm also just thankful that I am allowed to dive into my creativity. I'm grateful that I'm allowed to dive into my aspirations, my desires, the things that make me happy. Like I get to make oils, I get to make bath salts, I get to do the things that I'm interested in. You know, not everyone can say that. And I'm just very appreciative that I have the ability to do those things, you know, to look into the things that I want to look into. And my hope is that you also take a moment to think about what you're grateful for and what you're appreciative of, and maybe even make a small list, you know, because I think that would be great. But I will see you guys next time on my podcast. I hope everyone does amazing. I hope everyone has a great week. And if you want to share anything that you do for the full moon or for the autumn equinox or anything that you did for Friday the 13th, I am more than happy to listen. I would love to hear those experiences. You can DM me on Instagram. My Instagram is Beans the Witch. I'm on TikTok, Beans the Witch. So either one of those, you can go to my YouTube, leave a comment. I'll also respond. I tend to respond to people. So if you want to share anything with me, you are more than welcome to share everything with me. And that concludes this week's podcast episode.